Dr. Christopher West here, the Theology of the Body guy. In the modern world, we often hear people say things like, well, that might be true for you, but that's not true for me. Is there only your truth and my truth? Or is there a truth, the truth, to which we're all answerable? Let's take a look. If this is poison, and I don't think it's poison, does that have any bearing whatsoever on whether or not it is poison? I think we would all agree, no. Whether I think it's poison or not has no bearing whatsoever on whether it is poison. And if you know it's poison, and I don't, and you see me going to drink it, what's the loving thing to do? You would want to tell me to stop, would you not? Would it make any sense for me to say, well, that might be poison for you, but it's not poison for me? That makes no sense whatsoever. And would it make any sense for me to say, how dare you impose your view of reality on me? Is reality an imposition? The modern world has come to think of reality itself as an imposition. We have rejected the very idea of truth because we think we need to do so in order to defend our own freedom. We want to unfold here for a few minutes how truth and freedom go together. And when they get ruptured, both of them collapse. First of all, let's take a look at this fact. Truth is something we can run from, but we cannot hide from. In our very attempts to deny that there is truth, we affirm it. What do I mean? The very claim, there's no such thing as truth. We should respond, is that true? If it's true that there's no such thing as truth, then it's false that there's no such thing as truth because it's true that there's no such thing as truth, so there's truth. Well, people will then, trying to scramble for a way out of this, they'll say, well, if there's truth, you can't know it. To which we might respond, how do you know? Well, you can't be sure. Are you sure? In our very attempts to get out of the dilemma that there is truth, we find we can't get out of it because we're looking for truth. Even if the truth we're looking for is the so-called truth that there's no such thing as truth. We've already demonstrated that's false. There is truth. Here's what I think we really want to know and we've forgotten. The truth, as Christ himself said, the truth is what sets us free. I think the modern kind of allergic reaction to truth claims comes from the fact that we have a wound here from people imposing the truth on us without respect for our freedom. As I say in my book, Theology of the Body Explained, how often have children educated in the faith rejected it as adults because their teachers, whether parents, pastors, or others, tended to impose religion upon them without respect for and education in authentic human freedom. Freedom must be challenged to submit itself to the truth, but no one can be forced to accept the truth without doing violence to the dignity of his or her person. This is a very important point of John Paul II's approach to the ethical life. He calls his approach personalism, which is an unfailing respect for the dignity of the person and his or her freedom. John Paul II believes when we hold out what he calls the splendor of the truth, the beauty of the truth, our hearts are naturally drawn to it. And when we encounter how beautiful truth is, it doesn't need to be imposed from the outside. It wells up from within. The heart is attracted to the splendor of the truth. But when the truth is presented in an authoritarian, doctrinaire, rigoristic kind of way, it feels like an imposition from the outside. So here we have these outside forces and these inside forces that seem in competition. John Paul II here speaks of objectivity, that which is outside us, and subjectivity, that which is inside us. And in a brilliant stroke, John Paul II's philosophical project is to show us the harmony of the objective and the subjective, to show us how freedom and truth go together. John Paul II proposes to all of us that if we look at the deepest subjective experiences of our lives, we will find there a subjective confirmation of objective reality. And the foundation that links the two, objective reality and subjectivity, or we could say truth and freedom, the thing that links the two is the fact that we are made in the image and likeness of God. God is truth. God is ultimate reality. And we are made as human beings in his image and likeness. And we have been given a freedom by him that is meant to lead us to him. Freedom is given to us as a search for the truth. John Paul II says this in his book, Love and Responsibility. By giving man an intelligent and free nature, God has thereby ordained that each man alone will decide for himself the ends of his activity and not be a blind tool of someone else's ends. Here he is establishing this truth of the dignity of the person and his freedom. And we rightly feel a violation of our freedom when someone imposes the truth upon us. But he goes on to say, therefore, if God intends to direct man towards certain goals, he allows him to begin with to know those goals so that he may make them his own freely and strive towards them independently. God allows man to learn his supernatural ends, but the decision to strive towards that end, the choice, of course, keyword, choice, this is left to man's free will. God does not redeem us against our will. Let's look at that word choice. Here, from all that we've just said, we can recognize, reclaiming a terribly abused phrase, we can say this: God is pro-choice. What do we mean? He is for our freedom. He has given us our freedom. However, and here's the bumper sticker I want to see, God is pro-choice, but some choices are always wrong. Freedom does not mean the ability to decide what is good and evil. Freedom is the ability to choose between good and evil. We, in the end, we do not have the freedom to decide that which is good and evil. God and God alone determines what reality is. We, with our freedom, we are called to pursue the truth and freely adhere to it as we discover it. And so the Catechism of the Catholic Church says this: God does not want to impose the good. He wants free beings. Thus, the right to exercise freedom, especially in moral and religious matters, is an inalienable requirement of the dignity of the human person. In fact, we could summarize John Paul's philosophy here as follows. This is a paraphrase of what he says. A greater good is maintained when someone uses his freedom wrongly than when someone is forced to do what is good. What is the greater good that is maintained when we use our freedom wrongly than when we're forced to do what is good? Precisely that of freedom. The truth sets us free inasmuch as we are free in pursuing the truth. But when that truth is imposed, again, we feel it as a burden. I love telling the story of the scene that George Weigel reports in his biography of John Paul II, when John Paul II went to Chile and was meeting with the tyrant leader Pinochet. And Pinochet looks out at his world that he has created through tyranny, and he wonders with John Paul II, why are you promoting democracy? Look at the order I have created in my world, in my country. And John Paul II's response was this: people deserve their liberties even if they make mistakes in exercising them. A very key point. Truth, John Paul II firmly believes in the truth, right? Freedom, he firmly believes in freedom. The two go together. And when the truth is presented in its splendor, freedom is drawn to it, not as an imposition, but as a desire that wells up from within. In showing the unity of these objective and subjective realities, truth and freedom, we also have to recognize, of course, that because our freedom has gone astray and we can be deceived in what is good for us, we have to take a deeper look at our experiences, not just stay at the surface, in order to find in our freedom, in our own experience, what John Paul II would call the subjective confirmation of the objective reality. Now, let me give you a demonstration. Let's go back to our cup of poison. If this is poison and I don't know it's poison and I drink it, have I committed suicide? No. But will it still kill me? Yes. Because as we've already established, whether I think it's poison or not has no bearing whatsoever on whether it is poison or not. Let me link this to what the church teaches about human sexuality. I would propose to you that the truth of the church's teaching on human sexuality is confirmed in the wounds and pains and dysfunction of a culture that has rejected it. Now, in the past, when the church's teaching on sexuality in many instances just felt imposed from the outside, we understandably wanted to rebel against that in the name of what we have called sexual freedom. And we've been told, don't drink that, it's poison. And we thought to ourselves, I'm thirsty. It looks pretty good to me, so we've been drinking away. And true enough, when you are really thirsty and your tongue has been stuck to the roof of your mouth and your mouth is all dry and chafy, just putting the liquid on your lips, swashing it around in there, loosening up your tongue, wetting at your mouth, it feels great, tastes great. And we think, who is the Catholic Church to tell me what I can and cannot do sexually? Rah, 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 rah. It tastes great, it feels good. That's the surface experience. But as we let it go deeper and we also listen to those deeper experiences, what's going to happen if it's really poison? We're going to keel over. And that is the subjective confirmation of the objective truth that this is poison. My brothers and sisters, maybe the Catholic Church isn't crazy after all. Maybe the dysfunction of our society, maybe the breakdown of the family, maybe the deep wounds we feel in our own hearts and our disconnect from what it even means to be male and female, which is so rampant in the modern world, is a subjective confirmation of the objective truth that the Catholic Church has been trying to share with us about the beauty and the splendor of the truth about our creation as male and female, that if we embrace it, will set us free. I have so much more to share with you about the splendor of the truth of being male and female, and I do so in my books and in the courses I teach for the Theology of the Body Institute. Click the links below to learn more about these resources. And if you want to become part of a global community of men and women who are learning, living, and sharing this theology of the body, consider becoming part of our patron community. If you like this video, share it, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you next time.